In this recording, we will look at the summarization metrics that has been recently released by Ragas. So first we'll take a look at how the summarization matrix is calculated, and then we'll go into the code to see the implementation of the metrics. So in summarization metrics, what we calculate is we calculate how good the summary is based on the source. Now the definition of good is the summary concise, and is the summary captures all the key concepts that is mentioned in the source, right? Now for this experiment, I took this as a source text, which is Rajiv is a software engineer. He lives in San Jose. He's an expert in Python. Summary is Rajiv is a Python skilled engineer. I intentionally omitted some of the key information to test out this metrics, right? Now the summarization metrics in Ragas calculates two scores. One is called the QS score. The other one is called the conciseness score. And then the final score is an average of these two scores. We'll first see how the QS score is calculated. To calculate the QS score, the source content is provided to a language model, and the language model is asked to extract the key phrases from the source text. For example, from this source text, it extracted Rajiv, software engineer, San Jose, expert in Python as the key phrases. These key phrases are now given to the LLM, and the LLM is asked again to create questions, closed-ended questions from these key phrases, right? So if, for example, for this case, the LLM created these three questions. Is Rajiv a software engineer? Does Rajiv live in San Jose? Is Rajiv an expert in Python, right? So these questions are finally extracted from the source through the key phrases. Now, each of these questions and the summary are sent to an LLM again, and the LLM is asked if this question can be answered from the summary content. The idea is very simple, right? If this question is kind of one of the key topics or key concept in the source, if it cannot be answered from the summary, that means this concept has been omitted from the summary, right? That's how clever this the matrix how the matrix is designed, right? So if it cannot be answered based on the summary, then it gets a score of 0. If, for example, the first question gets a score 0, but it cannot be answered based on what we have in the summary. Second question also cannot be answered. The third question can be answered, so it got a score of 1, right? Then the QS score is the sum of the answers, right? Whatever answers we got divided by the total number of questions, right? That is a QS score. The conciseness score is very simple. It is length of the summary divided by the length of the source. In our case, the length of the summary, if you count it, it is 34 and it is 74. 34 divided by 74. And one is the score is subtracted from 1 to get the conciseness score. Why subtracted from 1? Because this is the numerator, right? If the numerator is more, if the length is more, that means the summary is verbose, right? But if I do not do a 1 minus, if the numerator is more, this value would be large, right? Giving us a false impression that the conciseness score is more, right? So it is actually the non-conciseness score, this part, but when I do 1 minus, that gives me the conciseness score, right? So this is how it works. Let's go to the code and see the implementation of it, right? So this is the code. This is the matrix. If I go to the matrix, right, we'll directly go to the async score part. So first part is the key phrases, as we mentioned, right? Key phrases, right? This is where it is extracting the key phrases by passing the source text. If I go here and I go to the get extract key phrases prompt, you'll see that the prompt it uses is extract the key phrases essential for summarizing the text, and it gives some few short examples, right? That is the first part. Second part is the question generation, right? So if I go back to the score, we got the key phrases. Now the question I'm passing the source text and the key phrases. This is where the questions are getting created. I go to the prompt. The prompt now says based on the given text and key phrases, generate closed-ended questions that can be answered with 1 if the question can be answered using the text, or 0 if it cannot, right? And then again, it gives some few short examples, right? So now we got the key phrases, we got the questions. Next part is the answers part of it, where I pass the question and the summary and ask the LLM if the questions can be answered based on the summary. So let's see what the prompt is. In this case, the prompt is based on the list of closed-ended 1 or 0 questions, generate a JSON with key answers, which is a list of strings that determine whether the provided summary contains sufficient information to answer each question, right? And then it again gives some few short examples to get the answers, right? So far what we got is the key phrases, the questions, the answers. Now we are calculating the QS score. The QS score is calculated as we have seen the sum of the correct scores divided by the total number of questions. Now in this place, there is a opportunity to improve this logic or this code a little bit. Is what I've seen, since the model graded evaluation is a non-deterministic approach, sometimes the model may not be able to extract the questions correctly, or it may not have extracted any question. Then this answers list will be empty. So it will become 0, right? Then we can have a divide by 0 error, right? So let's go back, but this is a simple change. If it needs to be done, then okay, so we saw how to create the QS score. Now this is the conciseness score. If my length penalty is true, right, I calculate the conciseness score also. The conciseness score, as I showed earlier, it is 1 minus length of summary by the length of text, right? And finally, the final score is a average of this scores, right? That's how the summarization matrix is working. And whatever I went through right now through the PPT and through the code, the same thing is also mentioned elaborately and very well documented in the Ragas documentation under summarization score, right? This is where whatever we have learned so far has been documented. That's all I wanted to share today. Thank you.